Welcome in, everybody, to the CFB Nation All-America podcast, part 2 here on Tuesday. I'm Bill Trocchi, senior editor at sportingnews.com, alongside Bill Bender, our national college football writer at sportingnews.com, and as Bryan Driskell knows, the president of the Football Writers Association of America, a one-year term. We're coming to you live on our CFB Nation YouTube channel again. If you want to subscribe, just go over to youtube.com, search CFB Nation, and click subscribe. Once again, we join you for the College Football Playoff Rankings Reveal on ESPN here at 7 o'clock tonight Eastern Time. This is week 2 of the rankings. And once again, Irish Breakdowns, Bryan Driskell is alongside, because if there is anyone in the world who loves ranking teams, it's Bryan Driskell. Welcome in,
loves
Bryan.
Debating ranking teams. That's part of the fun, right? If you can't discuss and debate things, what the heck are we doing here, man? It's just part of the fun.
Yep. So week 1, before we talk about Pat Narduzzi, which we will talk about Pat Narduzzi and the Pitt Notre Dame game that's coming up this weekend, that he doesn't really care if they win or lose. We want to talk about what came out of last week, which was Notre Dame was at 10. Miami was at 16, 18. I'm trying to remember. 18. And there was a lot of controversy about that. And now ACC Commissioner Jim Phillips has jumped into the pool with some social media posts yesterday about Team A, Team B, and comparing the two and who won and all these other things, and basically saying that, and then later on revealing, of course, that Miami was one of the teams. Notre Dame was one of the teams, and clearly Miami deserved to be ranked ahead of Notre Dame. Already, we've got politicking going on from the commissioner level, not just the fans, not just the media, not just the podcasters, but the commissioners are getting into the act. We haven't really seen the coaches get into the act yet. I got very frustrated with this last year, with everybody complaining about everything. I thought it took away from the football. I thought it took away from the confidence the people in charge want the people to have for these committee. They entrust the committee to do this job, and then all they do is complain about how they can't do it. And
bad arguments, Bill. That's the problem. Like, the problem last year with the SEC's whining was you had bad arguments. If anybody had an argument last year, it was Miami. I mean, Miami had a better record than Alabama. They had a better record than Ole Miss, and they didn't lose to anybody. They went 4-8. You know, they didn't lose to terrible. They didn't lose to a 4-8 Kentucky team at home who got destroyed in the last week of the season by an ACC team. Like, it was bad arguments. Like, look, you're not. This is not the year to have that fight. If Georgia, let's just say hypothetically that Oklahoma loses to Georgia this weekend, or excuse me, Alabama this weekend, and let's say Oklahoma then runs the table. They beat Missouri, LSU. They're going to have wins over Tennessee, South Carolina, Michigan, Missouri, LSU, and then let's say competitive losses to Ole Miss, Alabama, and then a beatdown to Texas. That's a 9-3 where I would be willing to hear your argument. But when you lose to Oklahoma last year and Vanderbilt last year, which Alabama did, and then you lose to Kentucky and Florida last year, like Ole Miss did, you have a bad argument. That's my problem. Like Jim Phillips' thing about Miami, I think Miami was underrated. They should have been higher than 18. But what I hate is the surface level arguments that undermine what the committee's trying to do. Like, anyone that knows how the committee works, that's why Heather Dinich had Notre Dame ahead of Miami before. And Bill, you know Heather Dinich. She's as straight as they come. She's as tied into how the committee works as anybody.
She's the best. She does a great job.
Don't be lazy in your response. There's an argument to make for Miami to be ahead of Notre Dame that I would respect. I just haven't seen anybody make it yet because they're too busy with these pithy Twitter type of debates, which are horrible platforms to have those debates. And so, like, there's a reason every computer model has Notre Dame ahead of Texas, Miami, and Oklahoma. Every single one.
I mean, on the flip, though, like, that's part of the job.
No.
It is. Yes, it is. It's been part of the job since the BCS era where they tried to get their teams in. What do you mean, no? Like, if I'm Greg Sankey, of course I'm coming out and saying, yeah, we should have 8 teams. I would overreach because I've got the best, most competitive conference.
But I think when you
change the committee's mind,
who cares if it changes it or not? You're doing your job. You campaign, you're defending for your conference.
I don't agree. I think when you overstep that much, just people ignore you. I don't think you're actually changing hearts and minds. You know, like if a politician says, "Hey, I'm going to cut all your taxes. I'm going to," and you're just like, dude, that's not even possible. Like, you're clearly lying to me. You're not going to I'm going to go vote for that guy unless you're a moron. You know what I mean? So like, it's like when you go, hey, look, we're a 5-6 team league this year, and then make that case for 5 or 6 teams. Don't go, we should be 8 to 10. Like now I was like, all right, ignoring that guy.
Yeah. Like, you know, no, well, if I'm SEC commissioner, I'm angling for that. If I'm Greg Sankey and I'm looking at the state of the ACC right now, where we seriously are having a conversation about Duke winning the ACC with 4 losses after losing to UConn, and Duke has a clean look at the ACC, then I'm sitting there and saying, yeah, we should have 5. Vanderbilt's clearly a better team than Duke. Texas is clearly, if that happens, if that comes to fruition. And it's my job to campaign for my team. I've watched the 2006 national championship where the SEC and Urban Meyer, and they angled Florida into the national championship game at a time when it was just 2. Why would that change at 4? Why would that change at 12? Why would that change at 16? Like, you could say, well, yeah, for the greater good of the sport, these 4 commissioners need to work together. That's never, ever, ever going to happen.
I don't support that, Bill. I don't support that. Like, what I do believe, however, is that when your arguments are so bad,
right,
that you're just like, dude, I can't even take you seriously. You're not actually doing any. All you're doing is undermining, but you're not actually making an argument. So here's the thing that I would say is, like, if I'm Greg Sankey, like, look, we really need to. If I'm actually trying to make a difference and to where it's going to benefit my league, here's the thing. You say, listen, we've got to put some guidelines in here for the Group of 5 winner and for the Power 4 teams, and that if you don't at least rank in the top 20, you lose the automatic bid. Like, that's a real thing, as opposed to we deserve 8 teams. Like, okay, it's not that's not a real thing, because everybody know you don't even believe there's 8 deserving teams.
I know. I'm just saying, but that's my job
better, but it's not your job to just lie and say things that no one's going to buy. My point is, your job is to do what's best for the SEC. So let's have a real conversation on that. And that's my point is, then make a realistic argument. Listen, if this happens and this happens, we've got to come together next year. And we're talking about expanding to 16. We need to fix something else first. And the thing we need to fix is we need to put some sort of standard where you don't get in just because you won your league. You get in if you won your league, as long as you rank within the top 20 or something like that, or 18 or 16 or something like that. And same thing with a G5 team. Like, that's a legitimate argument to make, where you could say you could then get 6 or 7 or 8 teams. Because if you drop Duke, and because let's say Duke does win it, right? And they're ranked 24th. They don't qualify. And then let's say South Florida's the G5 representative, and they're 22nd. And they lose their automatic bid. They're probably getting replaced by an SEC team or 2. And that's real. That's the whole 8 thing. It's like, it's not even mathematically possible for you to get 8 teams in.
Right. It's
just
true.
To me, like, what's the end result of that stunt he pulled last night? What's the end result? Miami fans are going to be mad because at the committee. They're like, look at this argument. Miami's mad at the committee. Notre Dame fans are going to be mad at Jim Phillips. College football fans are going to be like, wow, this committee has no idea what they're doing. Everybody's mad. And has he changed a vote on the committee with that stunt? No, he has not changed a vote. So what he's doing is stirring the pot, making everybody mad to the point where these guys are going to get death threats at some point. We know that. And the end result is not going to change. So I compared it last year when I wrote a story on it to officiating. We don't allow people to rip officials after games. We don't let them do it in the press conference. The commissioners don't do it. The coaches don't do it. The players don't do it. It's a little bit for the referee's safety, and they just kind of let it go because we've entrusted them to officiate the game. We've entrusted them to figure out how it should go. And the same thing is with the committee. We've entrusted these 12 to 14 people, or whatever it is, to figure this out for us, and we will live with the results, and we will be adults, and we will not overreact like fans overreact.
So
But this is the first
went out
stunt of like a month long of this BS, and I'm just not ready for it.
All of that went out the door the second they left Florida State out of the playoff in the 4-team era. Sorry. Like they left an undefeated team out of the play. No, I'm gonna finish this one. No, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm gonna say all of that goes out the door. You didn't think Florida State was gonna be pissed off when they went 13-0?
But that's a good case to make, though.
Oh,
that's
I think
when
it
the
is.
commissioner should be stepping up and making his argument.
It's not a good case. It's a great case.
Right.
They did everything they were supposed to be.
That's
and they put an
part of
SEC
his
team
job.
in over them. So don't tell me that they can't be mad. If you don't think the ACC
mad.
and Florida State was going to be mad after that?
They can see, I'm not saying they shouldn't say anything.
I'm
not saying they should all just accept the rules.
You can call out the committee. And I know some of the people that did have to call out the committee there when they went 13-0. You can't physically do anything else, and they based it off
and the justification was
a quarterback
especially
injury.
Since they won the ACC title game with the backup quarterback.
You go ahead and tell. If I was the ACC commissioner, I would have laced the committee there.
Sure, and I would have supported you.
Absolutely would,
and I did as well.
And that's going to happen here, and it's going to happen when
that's
we go
a good
16.
argument. Where I'm saying,
that's
Bill,
what I'm saying.
Do it when it's a justifiable reason to push back.
Right.
This notion that we should have 8 to 10 teams in, or this crying about, hey, you know what? If you want to be ranked higher than Notre Dame, then guess what? Don't lose to SMU. You know, it's kind of a bad look. And especially when you consider the fact that Notre Dame, as the ACC commissioner, is one of your schools. Right. They're not for football, but they are for a lot of other sports.
I don't understand what Phillips is doing after Notre
terrible
Dame.
Commissioner. I mean, that's just the reality of it.
It's but as far as you want to agree, I understand why Sankey's doing. All I'm saying is I understand why Sankey's doing what he's doing. I understand why Phillips is doing what he's doing. I understand why Petitti's not saying anything because he never does. And I understand Yormark's been quiet because I think they're probably happy with where they're at because
they got 3 teams in the top 13.
They're in a decent spot to get to. But I mean, these other guys, it's part of I don't mind it, is what I'm trying to say. Making politics kind of fun. Like people getting a little bit angry about college football. It shows you care.
Show passion, but just don't make stupid arguments that you don't even believe.
But then to Bill's point, we're going to, whether you guys like it or not, that first weekend, we're going to complain about the teams that aren't there. That's what they're going to do.
You know what's
they're
funny?
They're going to do it until we go to 16. Then they'll do it when we go. Then they'll want to go to 24.
Somebody in the chat was like, just go to 16 teams and then 16 highest ranked teams. And then we can complain about, well, we should have been ranked 16th, not 17th. Like there is no perfect system. And my whole thing is, if you're going to make an argument, at least make an argument using the criteria that the committee considers. Because head to head is important. It should be important, but it's not the end all be all. So if you're going to make an argument that at least is respectful to the committee. And if we don't do this, if we don't move on to the Narduzzi stuff, guys, we're not going to be able to get there because they're going to be releasing the rankings here.
We can talk about that.
They're releasing them right now. We'll touch on it afterwards if you want to. 25, Cincinnati. Some more Big 12 respect right there. At 7-2, they were not ranked last week.
They're trying to set up BYU with a good win.
So that'll be
end of the year.
Oh, here comes a group of 5. USF comes in at 24. Also new to the poll. And we thought USF would be the group of 5. So it looks like that's what's going to happen.
I really think they wanted to let this past weekend games play out before they put a G5 team in there. I really do. When you looked at the slate of who had to play each other this past weekend, I really felt that's why they didn't put anybody in.
Did they sneak James Madison to 23? We'll see.
They're not getting enough love either. Yeah, that's a good point. They're 8-1 now?
Yes.
Yeah, and then
only
San Diego
loss
State had to beat
until
Saturday. No, it was might have been Louisville, actually. Yeah, it was Louisville. Yep.
Tennessee 23, up 2
Still
spots. Ranked. Pitt 22, Mr. Narduzzi.
There he is
on the climb.
Only 2 spots, huh? So one team that lost last week is going to still be ahead of it.
Looks last week so far, yes.
Huh?
So the next 21 teams or so are going to be the same as last week.
It's same. Yeah, nobody new will be in there.
Nobody new.
So,
Iowa's out.
Yeah. You think so?
Yes.
They were at 20. Oh,
So
they're 21.
Yeah.
Iowa.
So
21.
Iowa's still in there. Okay.
Yeah. They dropped.
They dropped one spot for losing at home.
Yeah. Well, and it was a great game against a team that's in the
top 20. I meant. I think the next 20 teams will be this. Nobody's dropping out from the 20 from last week.
Yeah.
We'll see if I'm wrong.
Out so far. So obviously, hold on a second.
It's like Missouri and Washington.
Missouri and
sense.
Washington. Yeah.
Makes sense.
That was
Louisville comes in at number 20.
They go down. Okay. So Virginia didn't fall that far.
They went 5. Louisville dropped 5 spots for losing at home to Cal.
Mm-hmm. That was
in overtime. That was a fun one.
They're going to have Virginia at 19. I'll bet you they have Virginia at 19. Just keep those ACC schools right there by each other.
You got it.
There we go. And they're going to drop again because without having Chandler Morris, they're going to lose another one.
They got a huge game with Duke this weekend.
Touchdown dog against Duke.
Mm-hmm.
Where's
they would have had a shot with Chandler Morris.
Duke's not in the top 25 yet.
Michigan 18.
4 losses.
I'm joking, bro.
Okay. What? Okay. We said no bad arguments, Bill. That's what we agreed to at the beginning. So USC is going to go up a couple spots.
It'll probably be next.
Yeah, 17.
That'll be another head-to-head pairing.
Mm-hmm. That was a far more convincing win than what we saw with some of the others.
They're dangerous.
USC, one spot ahead of Michigan.
It's going to look good for Notre Dame, too, because I think they're going to give Oregon a run here in a week. I don't like that they have to go there, though.
Yep. But at least that's a little bit more of a game they've had to go through before. More of a true West Coast game. It's going to be cold there usually. Late in the year.
Georgia Tech 16. Probably the high. No, we haven't had Miami, have we?
Mm-mm.
Miami and
Miami will probably be next in the next 2.
Yep.
Miami's going to jump Georgia Tech on a bye week.
That's
with
weird.
A win over Syracuse.
That's dumb.
Mm-hmm.
All righty.
Maybe Jim Phillips' tweet did work.
Yeah.
Just
and he screwed over one of his another one of his teams.
So Miami is going to be in the bracket.
They worked so hard they leapfrogged a team that they're not better than in the Aaron Conference.
After all that,
yeah,
I guess you can whine to the committee and he'll put you in the bracket because that's exactly what happened.
If you're Jim Phillips, what you want is Miami to somehow lose the tiebreakers and keep climbing. Because then you have a better shot.
3 spots for beating Syracuse. Iowa dropped 1 spot for losing to Oregon. Well, you kind of throw away a Syracuse home win, don't you?
Who'd they move? Yeah. They moved ahead of 2 teams that had bad losses, right? And then leaped the other ACC team. So
Vanderbilt at 14.
We'll move you up, but we're going to move you ahead of all your teams in your league. That's basically what the committee did to Jim
Vanderbilt. That's about right, right?
Yeah.
Ish.
Yeah. Utah stays put at 13.
I honestly would have Miami ahead of Vanderbilt, and we could have that conversation too. Utah's got a pretty easy path to running the table here.
Utah,
they need some help with we did the Big 12 tiebreakers today. There's there's a path for them. They need some help. They need some BYU.
They lost to BYU and
they've got that best cumulative conference winning percentage too. They played a tough schedule. The losses, Texas Tech and BYU hurt. Kind of a dangerous team. They're playing well, but they've got to test at Baylor. Yeah, but they play at Baylor this weekend. It'll be a fun game.
Yeah. BYU 12.
They don't have any ranked wins, but they have a lot of quality wins. You know what I mean? Like good teams, but not great teams. Kind of like Notre Dame's resume. No, they don't have a lot of top 25 wins, but they have a lot of quality wins.
So they're not punishing Oregon either. I mean, not punishing. They won. Oregon, but like BYU drops from 7 to 12.
Right? That's about right, right?
5 spots. They were pretty dominated. Oklahoma at 11.
So they moved up a spot, right?
Correct.
They will be the last team out. First team out.
Mm-hmm.
First team out.
Six
And then-
SEC teams in the top 11.
Yeah, Texas
Do
will
you
be.
think they, before
That-
we get there, do you guys think that they move Texas A&M ahead of Indiana this week?
I think they might. I think they need something to, you know what I mean? Something
Yeah.
to say like this matters. And
And it's not even that they had a tough game against Penn State. That's a quality team, but it's also Texas A&M was dominant on the road against a team
Correct.
that they ranked last week.
I think they
in the
could
top
do it
25.
to go to their blank canvas, get us talking about it. It could happen, and not that Indiana's win was bad.
Right. Just not nearly as convincing as the
I think
win.
the fact that that they struggled versus the fact that Texas A&M did go on the road against a tough defense, and
that's more of the
dominate.
reason I think A&M deserves to jump up. Not that, I mean, everybody's kind of got that sloppy win over a team that's not very good. It's more so about that win that A&M had over Missouri was really impressive.
I would like to see them put Texas Tech at like 6. They won't, but that'd be cool.
Texas is at 10, and now we're waiting on number 9, which
be Notre Dame, right?
it is Notre Dame.
Okay.
So Notre Dame is 9. There'll be 9 in the seeding.
Mhm.
And
Oregon is 8.
6 spots ahead of Miami. So like that gap is about the same, right? It was
2 spots tighter.
the little
It was 8 last week. It's 6 this week,
Yeah,
but it's
I mean,
still like
still a
you're
gap.
You're not catching Notre Dame unless they lose at this point in time.
Correct. You're not going to swap.
Ole
6
Miss.
spots. They are going to put Texas Tech 6.
They should. I mean, honestly, their resume
Don't hate
now
it.
after last week looks a lot better.
Don't hate it.
Texas Tech jumped them after Ole Miss beat up on the Citadel, and Texas Tech beat BYU.
I think that's what you should do. You're supposed to look at the resumes fresh again, and Texas Tech just got a convincing huge win over a top 10
Don't
team.
hate it at all.
Yeah, I
Love
think it's
it.
the right move. Yeah.
They're the most interesting team in the field to me. Like I want to. I've said that a couple times this week. I want to see them play.
How about hey
I
Bill?
want to see if they can go on a run with that defense.
How about it wouldn't be. It'd be Miami and stuff. I was going to say, looking at it, if it was not automatic bids we're gotten rid of, that's 6-11 Texas Tech Oklahoma Big 12 rematch would have been fun to watch.
Yes,
This is set up for Texas Tech Miami. Georgia
Yeah.
at 5, which we expected.
Yeah, Bama should stay, right?
Bama will be 4. A&M will be 3. Yep, that's Bama is at 4. A&M's 3, or we think.
Stymie in the comments has a point. It's like you could have made a case to put Notre Dame ahead of Oregon. I would have heard it.
I would have heard it, but I as good as the win over Navy was, you go on the road and beat a good top 20 Iowa team in bad conditions, and that win showed me a little something about Oregon.
Yeah,
and I have not been hot. They did not move Texas A&M up. Wow.
They did
Nope.
not.
Wow.
Indiana still 2, assuming, and Ohio State number 1.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised by that. I think Indiana's overall resume or A&M's overall resume looks a lot better now than Indiana's does.
Yep.
That surprises me a little bit.
Anything jump out other than I think this is again not bad.
I would have flipped Indiana and Texas A&M. That's all.
So our first round matchups would be
Notre
Georgia-
Dame at Oregon.
Georgia, South Florida,
Uh,
Texas A&M,
yes.
Oklahoma, Texas Tech, Oklahoma.
No,
So-
Texas Tech, Miami.
Oh, Miami, because they're the champion pick. That's
Yes.
great.
Yeah, because I mean they're ranked the highest. Yeah,
They
Texas
jumped Georgia
Tech,
Tech. They're the
that's-
highest ranked ACC
That's probably
team.
that's probably the lone mistake then, right? Then we got Ole Miss, Texas, Oregon, Notre Dame.
what
Ole
would be
Miss
the
versus Texas,
what would be the
and Notre
mistake?
Dame is at Oregon. Yes. So, and Ole Miss and Texas did not play during the regular season, right? So
Mhm.
that would be a new one. So
Like-
yeah, I think it stands out that Miami jumped Georgia Tech when Georgia Tech was on a bye. Again, that's not going to matter, I don't think, in the long term, because the ACC champion is obviously going to be decided on the field.
Mhm.
But it is interesting. One day after the little stunt that we talked about, Miami got a nice bump. They got one of the
And then-
bigger bumps in all of the top 25
Did we lose Bill?
for beating a really crappy team
Yeah,
at
agree.
home.
Agree. Yeah, I get you on that. Anything stand out to you guys just overall? Anything else? Anything else like surprise you? How about you, Bender?
No, I mean, like I said, the SEC number, it goes back to our argument earlier. If I've got 6 teams in the top 7 or top 10, why wouldn't I come out there and say, hey, well, I should have 7? I mean, it's greedy and it's wrong, but I'm just
7 is better than saying 8 to 10.
I should have all 12. What I mean? Like I should have 11.
Yeah, it's just like let's just have our own tournament, and then all
I get it. I think
can give your trophy that no one's going to care about.
The Big Ten's path to 4 teams is hinging on 2 results that I don't think either one of them will happen. It hinges on either Michigan going 10-2 and beating the Buckeyes, or USC Oregon becomes a really interesting game to me because I think USC is playing. I watched them Friday against Northwestern with their illegal punter play and their good running game. They have a chance to beat Oregon.
Well, and I honestly, you guys might disagree with this, but I honestly think that if USC wasn't just ravaged with injuries and food poisoning issues, I think they're probably a 9-1 team right now, or an 8-1 team right now. Right? Yeah, I mean, I think that's legit. They lost to Illinois. They're a good football team.
So here's an interesting situation I want to bring up. So if Oklahoma and Texas win this weekend, you would imagine Alabama and Georgia will stay in, and there's your 6 next week in the bracket. I would assume Oklahoma would jump up with a win at Alabama and get into the field. Texas wins at Georgia. They're into the field. They're already in. And I don't know if Georgia or Alabama fall out. And then
Bama, I could see.
That's 6.
Bama, I could see because their resume would look a lot less impressive. They've got some very ugly wins on their resume right now.
Well, they're 4. They're ahead of Georgia.
Yeah. But if they lose again, I could see them falling. Depends on how the game would go. I don't think it's going to happen. But
I think if Texas wins, they get the inside track on being a 3-loss at large. Not saying it'll happen, but they'll have a very compelling
Texas wins
against Georgia.
Loses.
And then what loses to A&M?
Yeah, like say A&M's like a 3-point game. They would have a very compelling case as a 3-loss at large.
Who do you think has the better 3-loss resume? Oklahoma or Texas?
Texas, I don't care because they won the head-to-head. Like Oklahoma probably has a better resume.
Definitely has a better resume at that point.
As of now,
you can't ignore the 3-6.
You give them the credit for the win against Michigan versus losing to Ohio State. Brian, I'd be the first to admit, I've probably given Texas over more credit than maybe they deserve for playing Ohio State to a touchdown in week 1 on the road.
I think that's I kind of look at it like Miami and Notre Dame. That's
very
different Ohio State team than it is now. Their offense is much different than it was in week
1. They probably beat them by two. Yeah. Well, maybe. I mean, Texas defense pretty good. There was a reason why they held back, but I mean that was so far back.
They over 30 points in their last 2 games.
Mike went down.
Yeah. Here, not good. To me, Bill, it would depend on what's the score of this weekend's games. Like, let's say Texas gets beat by Georgia convincingly, and Oklahoma plays Alabama tight, then that might be different. Because I mean, like if it's close, the head-to-head should matter a lot more. With Notre Dame and Miami, the resumes aren't close. Oklahoma,
Texas and Oklahoma right now,
and
10-11.
Texas beat Oklahoma far more convincingly than Miami beat Notre Dame too. That was not a competitive game.
I would honor the
head-to-head. Counter, huh?
I'm honoring the head-to-head too, though.
Here's the counter too: is that Oklahoma team, did Mateer even play in that game?
Which game?
Did Mateer play against Texas?
Yeah, it was his first game back.
Limited
injury.
They should not have played.
He was questionable all week, and then it was a game time decision, and then
that could have helped them. If they didn't play him, they could have been like, "Hey, we never starting quarterback." You know what I mean? Like, I get it.
Well, Michael
try to win though.
Michael Lynch asked in the chat too, would 9-3 Georgia get into the CFP? I'd say they would have a less compelling case to me than Texas.
I don't know. Based on no great wins or something?
If they lose to Alabama at home, which they did, if they lose this weekend at home, that's 2 home losses. Yeah. And then if they lose to Georgia Tech, because that's the only other possible game they could lose,
you'd have 2 ranked wins over Tennessee and Ole Miss.
A Tennessee game that they easily could have lost. Based on a missed field goal. Sure. They did beat Ole Miss. That's their best win.
Yeah.
I would say, and Texas would have the head-to-head against them. I mean,
I still say a loss to a 3-6 team where you got pretty much dominated. I mean, if you watch the game, they got dominated. They literally never led in the game. And once Florida went up 7-0, it was never tied. It wasn't a very close game. That hurts them for me. And it's like kind of like, what's the cutoff when head-to-head stops mattering? It's a legitimate debate, Bill. I mean, that's a legitimate discussion. I think
that'd be a good one.
What is the margin of victory? The reason I'd be more sympathetic to your Texas over Oklahoma argument is it was a convincing Texas win. If Texas convincingly beats Georgia, then I think that hurts Georgia's resume. If it's a walk-off field goal at the end of the game, and I'm looking there at Georgia's resume at the end of the year, I'm like, that's still one of the 12 best teams in college football.
Except if they lose to Georgia Tech, it's just mentally you have to drop them, and they'll be dropping 2 weeks in a row. It's like timing matters. It shouldn't matter. We don't want it to matter, but timing matters.
Right. Yeah. What happens around them? Like if Georgia Tech's, let's say Miami wins out convincingly. Let's say Georgia Tech wins the ACC. All of a sudden, it's like, are you going to leave Miami out at 10-2 again? After with a win over Notre Dame, you know what I mean? Does Utah win out? You're gonna leave Utah out. So like, no matter it to me, that's a worst case scenario for the committee that if they have to make that decision. If you're the committee, you're like, go Dogs, go Roll Tide. Right. That's what you're basically saying. I mean, seriously,
makes their job easier.
It does.
It makes their job a lot easier.
Imagine if Notre Dame was 10-0 and lost in week 11 and lost in week 12. There's no way they'd be as high as they will be. The reverse, where they lost in week 1 and week 2.
I'm somewhat sympathetic to that because I think that's more reflective of the team you will be in the postseason.
Yes, agree.
Like
True.
they can say all they want. We just look at the overall resume. We don't take into account this. Well, his comments last week made it very clear that they take those things into account because he's talking about how well Notre Dame's played lately and all that kind of stuff. Like Pitt should get the benefit of the doubt, the fact that they're a different team with the new quarterback. That should matter. It's like, Bill, you remember how by the end of the 2016 season, nobody wanted to play USC in the postseason
because they were hot with Sam Darnold, right?
They were. Yep. I mean, they whooped Washington and like if they would have got into the playoff that year at 9-3, which they would have because I think they finished like 9th, they would have got into the 12-team playoff. That's a team that could have made a run. Yes, I know they lost 52-6 at the beginning of the year, but at the end of the day, you got to say, are they one of the 12 best teams in college football? Not based on recruiting rankings or I think on a neutral field. I'm talking about how they're playing right now. That's what killed Miami last year. If Miami would have lost to Georgia Tech and Syracuse in September with Cam Ward being new and then just rolled the rest of the year, beat Florida in November, they might be in, but I do think how you're playing, not that when you lose matters. It's more about how are you playing going into the postseason. I think that's something that helped Notre Dame last year because
that's why Notre Dame is 6. That's why they're 6 spots ahead of Miami.
Right,
they're playing better.
Way better.
Way better on both sides of the ball.
Why we argue so much about getting in is because you have an opportunity to win a game. Because if you're the last at large, you're playing the 6th seed in the first round, right? You're the 11th seed. You got the group of 5 takes the 12th seed. So that last team in, you're not playing. It's not a 1 versus 16 situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're on the road, but like you're playing the 6th seed. You're not playing a team that's probably going to win the national championship. You've got a chance to win that game, and that's why it's just so important. And there's so much arguing and everything about getting in. It's a cool thing about the format is if you get in, you got a shot to at least win one game and advance, to the bowl round and the quarterfinals and things like that. I just love that part of this format.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah. Shall we talk a few minutes about Narduzzi?
Yes.
We're not going live. By the way, Notre Dame fans or anybody who wants to watch, we're going to talk more about the rankings at 7:35. So we got some time.
We got a few minutes. Bender, before we get into Narduzzi, are you in a position to show this crowd the Bill Bender Elite uniform?
Oh, yeah. I have it.
Because
here.
Oh, there it is.
Right behind the
Driskell. You haven't seen this
play
yet.
like
you need to check it out before we get into Narduzzi.
There's a play like a champion today towel.
Okay, right there.
So for all the Notre Dame people, because I like it should say right like a champion today. You slap that before you start these long days, and then you look at the Bill Bender Elite. That was our
Nice.
lacrosse team. The boys,
Nice.
the boys' idea, not mine. I'm not that big of an ego. I have
Close.
some ego, not that
Close.
much. But you know what? The real quick, the boys played. We made it to the championship game. We had fun, despite my 0 minutes of lacrosse experience. The boys had a blast. It was wet. It was rainy. We love lacrosse, man. We love watching Notre Dame lacrosse, by the way, in this house. And, it was a lot of fun seeing that. So the Bender Elite, there are jerseys.
Yeah.
If anybody wants a
everybody, I wanted
sweatshirt,
to show off
yeah.
the uniform.
DM me if you want a $36 sweatshirt, and we can go from there.
There you
No,
go. All
I
right.
think we're good. But Narduzzi. So
let's just recap for
ahead.
people that don't
Yeah.
know. On Monday at his press conference, somebody asked, "Is this a must-win against Notre Dame?" And he said, "Absolutely not." And then he said, "I don't care if we lose 100-3 or 113-3. It doesn't matter. We want to win our 2 ACC games. That's what we're focused on." That was essentially what his answer was. So, Bill, what did you think when you heard that? Because when you told me that, I was like, he said what?
That sounds like something Pat would say, was what I thought. And I have a decent relationship with Pat. And, we've had good conversations on the record, off the record over the years. He's quirky. He's eccentric. So am I think. So that's why we get along. And he'll say he has no filter whatsoever, which is what I love about him. Now, does he really mean that? Probably not. Is he probably? Is it a smart?
Mean? That's the thing.
Is it a smart thing to say before a game against Notre Dame? No, not at all. And if it's, you want to call it loser mentality, whatever. But I think he I don't like that it takes away from a matchup that I really am looking forward to watch Saturday, because I think these are two competitive teams. Pitt will try it. Pitt has a good run defense. They have good linebackers, and I want to see that. I think to his larger point, if you ask Pat about his thoughts about a 12-team versus 6-team versus whatever number of playoff, he will give you a very detailed, well-thought-out answer that isn't BS. That's what I love about Pat. I don't think he wants to take this any further, and he won't. But
you reached out. He didn't want to talk.
No, not this week. But and we have a good enough, like I said, relationship that I understand why. So I'm not hanging out Pat out to dry. I'm just saying that's what I'm guessing his thinking is. But I just don't like that it would take away from a matchup. Like I said, like Bryan can speak to this more than me. I look at Notre Dame Pitt as somebody that grew up around here as like, I vaguely remember them playing as a kid. I felt like they played a lot. I feel like there's some memorable matchups.
You and I are similar age.
Yeah.
They played almost every year.
And it was like they're going to hit each other. It's the Catholic presence in PA is like the Catholic presence in Ohio. It's an important game for those fan bases. So I just hate that it takes away from that.
Took a giant bucket of water and just dumped it on the game day party.
the thing is, like, here it's a silly thing to say overall, and then also it's a silly thing to say the way he said it. Like here's exactly how the conversation. Hey, listen, this is an important game for us, but at the end of the day, we're trying to win an ACC championship, and that's our goal. And no matter what happens this weekend, our focus is we're going to give everything we got to go out and win this game on Saturday, but then we're turning right around to focus on winning an ACC championship. And everybody was like, great answer, coach. But at the end of the day, it freaking does matter, because here's the reality, Bill. If you end your season with wins over Notre Dame, Georgia Tech, and Miami, you can then lose your ACC title game and still be in the playoff, because they would be.
Possibly.
Like they're 22
they would
now.
have a chance.
If they beat number 9 Notre Dame this week, number 16 Georgia Tech next week, and then number 15 Miami the next week, they're absolutely going to be in the top 10, in my opinion.
That's a nice
And
resume.
the committee has said, well, look, unless they get blown out, we're not going to drop them out of the playoffs because they lost the ACC title game. So, yeah, the game does matter unless you don't care about getting in the playoff because your goal is to win the ACC championship, which is totally fine. He may say, hey, listen, guys, we are not a team that's going to go to the playoffs and make a 3-4 game run. And I'm okay with coaches having that realization.
Yeah,
But the point is, it's just the you could say he said it poorly. He did say it poorly. I'm sure he would like to go back and say it over again. Well, I don't care if we lose 110-10. That's such a dumb thing to say. But the point is the fact is, but he's also wrong. This game does matter to his team. I mean, and there's also the idea of momentum. You want to have some momentum going into playing next weekend's game. What if you don't care and you do lose 110-10? You think the team's going to be hyped up to play Georgia Tech next week or Miami the week after? You're like, we lost by 100 to Notre Dame and they lost to Miami. I mean, we're screwed.
And then, like, if he could do it over again, not speaking for him, but the way I do it, you just lean into that, like what we were just talking about. Say, yeah, it's a historical rivalry. I wish, I wish it were a conference game and, something like that. It's easy.
Because he loves crying about Notre Dame not being the ACC. This is the perfect chance.
You could take a shot there, take that shot instead of, say, yeah, I grew up with Tony Dorsett and, these great matchups with Marino and all that. And I don't even know, I saw in the chat earlier today, there was apparently Tony Dorsett had a 300-yard game against Notre Dame once upon a time. So like lean into that 76. Stuff.
Yeah,
what makes this right?
Notre Dame beat Pitt when they were number one with Marino too.
So lean into that history and say, man, it's cool that we're ranked and they're ranked, and it's got implications on, for the maybe playoff seeding, who knows, but we have big goals, and it's an easy answer, I think. And what I'm most excited to see is, like I said at the top, that stat that sticks out to me is Pitt fewest rushing yards allowed per attempt in the country versus Jeremiah Love, and they've got 3 nice linebackers. We talked
number
to Kyle Lewis.
3 in yards allowed per game, number 1 in yards per attempt at 2.39, right?
Yeah,
so,
they're really good. And all 3 linebackers, they got, of course, and contractually obligated to mention that one of those linebackers is a Pickerington kid, Rasheem Biles. He can play. So seeing all those guys run around against the Notre Dame offense that has been rolling and clicking and doing all those things, I'm probably more the 2 games you always do that question, Brian, if you could only watch one game this weekend, be like that. I'm not going to do that. But it's Pitt, Notre Dame, and Georgia, Texas. Those are the 2 I can't miss this weekend.
Yeah,
no question.
Yeah, I think Alabama, Oklahoma is not going to be a very competitive game. I could be wrong. Alabama's not playing great, but I just don't think it's going to be an overly competitive game.
Yep.
Thank you, Brian, for making some time before your show.
7:30. Over to Irish Breakdown, folks. We're going to be over there.
Irish Breakdown. Thank you to everyone for listening to the CFB Nation All-America podcast, and we will be back Thursday morning at 9 a.m. See you then.